Hi everyone, welcome to the Healthy Vibe Tribe with me, Catherine. And today we have Nina from Suffolk Women's Wellness Centre. We're going to just be talking, as it's back to school next week, about making the most of that time and becoming a more healthy mama. So yeah, Nina, tell us more about what you do.
Hi, Catherine. So, like you said, I run a business called Suffolk Women's Wellness Centre. So the focus is on women of all life phases, but it originally started when I was, so I'm a midwife and I worked a lot with pregnancy and postnatal mums. And I thought that was the best place to start because these women were underserved more through their postnatal phase and through the pregnancy, where they get a lot more attention. But as soon as baby's here, the focus tends to be on the baby more of the time, and mothers just survive rather than thrive. And I thought it was a time where women needed more focus on their own recovery, as recovery can take a year, 2 years sometimes, depending on the type of birth you've had. So I've worked with women since 96 as a midwife, and in my health capacity as a fitness instructor since 2005 with recovery after childbirth. And then more recently, probably in the last 6 years, have qualified in therapy work. So I work to help women feel more confident and comfortable in their bodies if they're experiencing pelvic pain, back pain, and just niggles that don't really go away. So it's looking at a more holistic approach, that it's not just one element that ever really works, and that if women feel that they can just get their body back with exercise, there's so much more to it than that. As you know, as being a mum, it's quite stressful, and we have to really think about how we can reduce that stress, as the stress can really create havoc with our hormones and our sleep and our mood, and then our ability to exercise well. So I look at all of that really, along with nutrition and all the elements of self-care.
That's it. And I know, so I started your program when my little girl, I think, was 6 weeks old.
Yes.
And it's the best thing. I wanted to get my body back, and I really felt that you just looked after every single element of that, and it was about us, and obviously you looked after the babies as well, but the focus was definitely on the mums and putting us back together again. And physically and mentally, it's so important, because I think when you've got a new baby, the mental strain as well as the physical strain is there. And if you're tired, you just think, well, I've got a baby, of course I'm going to be tired, and of course I'm going to ache, but you don't need to.
And I think it's capacity to cope. A lot of women, when they come and see me, the main thing that they say is that I feel broken. I don't know where to start. I worry that I might make things worse for myself. So I do nothing, or I do bouts of exercise that I did before the baby was here and then feel wretched afterwards. So then I get stuck in this cycle of not knowing what to do. And then a lot of women comfort eat or eat for survival. So eat a lot of carby, sugary foods, and get sort of drawn into something that's probably was nothing like the person they were before, but then life is not the same. So I always, speak with women about finding what their new normal is and not pushing their limits, and working through a gradual recovery process, as probably pregnancy and birth is the biggest thing that will ever happen to our bodies. Every physiological system was altered. Our core unit, the center of our body, was stretched, all the organs were moved out of their natural position, and then the babies come out whatever way, and then we have to deal with that afterwards. So a lot of women, if they have a cesarean birth, they're dealing with 7 layers that have been cut into and manipulated and moved about. If they've had a vaginal birth, then their muscles in their perineum and pelvic floor have been stretched 2.5 times their normal length. So we can't say that we'll be unaffected by having a baby, that we would be normal afterwards, because those things are extreme. So, we just have to be gentle with ourselves, not fall into that social or media trap of, women that look like they're back to their normal, whatever that is, in 6 weeks, because it's not true. It's not realistic. Physiologically, it takes up to 500 days for women to completely restore and regenerate their tissues on that cellular level. So, I go with that, and I think it takes the pressure off, and women don't feel like they have to succeed to a certain degree every day of that postnatal period,
That's it. And then being in the group where you can share those experiences with other women at the same stage of life as you, and going through all the same things, and having the leaky pelvic floor and all of that, not being able to go on the trampoline quite as often. But just sharing all those things and then getting that strength back is
it's just being relatable, isn't it, with other women in the community. And over the years, I've fostered this sense of community with women that have been coming to see me probably since, crikey, 2016. I've been involved more with bringing women together and keeping them together, coming to classes that I run regularly. So I do run weekly classes that are core and pelvic floor friendly, but we adapt and we progress. And I know that women whose babies are now 4, 5 and 6, they want their challenges back. So, we provide challenges, but I'm still there for the women who are newly postnatal, who want to just gently ease back into exercise. So my focus is looking at a woman holistically, knowing what she's been through, and not just pushing her so she feels good in that session, but then feels wretched for weeks or months afterwards. I mean, that's the important thing, really.
Definitely. I know after my 6 months, I felt absolutely brilliant, and ready to keep going. And like I say, you cover the nutrition side as well. You do massage therapy, and I'm sure there's other things as well. So you're qualified.
Do scar work. Yeah. So scar work I've been doing for probably the last 5 years. Scar work for perineums, which are often overlooked, scar work for abdominal scars, so cesarean, appendix, hysterectomy. If you've got any upper scar work, if you've ever had a spleen or anything, abdominally wise, then I work with that. But I'm okay to work on scars all over the body. It's just that's been my area of focus for the last 5 years. But so I think, women have been put under a lot of pressure in general, because we are women and we tend to run households. We like to be creative. We like to fit in, I think, with society. So there's a lot of women now that have jobs and businesses on top of the mothering roles. In maternity leave, women don't just sit on their laurels. A lot of women I know set up new businesses, change careers. There's a lot of pressure. And, there's some great books out there about it, but, I can't remember the lady who wrote this book about rushing women syndrome, and that with modern life, we are constantly pushing ourselves and working. We rarely sit down, because if we do, we might not get back up again. So we keep pushing and pushing. And we're creating quite high cortisol levels, the stress hormone. We're running on adrenaline, and we're existing in our emergency state. So compound that with a pandemic, and us all been in lockdown, and a lot of women then homeschooling and still hoping that they can work from home and run their businesses and keep their houses, the way they want them to, and all the other things that we have to do. I think women have reached a level of burnout like never before, really. I think there are women that have benefited from having maybe another partner at home. Some women have said that it's great because my partner would not have experienced life with the new baby as much as they have now, and I've actually had a little bit more time, so there's someone that who has another pair of arms that can hold my baby while I can go and do something. But I think generally on the whole, it's been a great deal of stress for women. So I think with the looming back to school on the 8th, women need to use this opportunity just to recover a little bit and not to launch into things if they can. I would strongly recommend it, as usually our bodies cope up to the point because they run with things when they know there is no better alternative. This is how life is. And as soon as you start to relinquish some of that stress and the children go back to school, then women often feel ill, and we can develop, I mean, to the extreme, autoimmune disorders. But, you know, in the short term could be things like, you know, excess fatigue, can be some food intolerances going on because you've run on that high adrenaline and cortisol level for so many months. So the best thing really is to check in with the body and do some relaxation and mindfulness, maybe guided if you've never done that before, because it is quite tricky to even know where to start. And just see what your body's saying. You know, are you exhausted? You know, what is it that you're exhausted with? Is it because you've not had enough time on your own? Because a lot of us need to have a bit of time on our own, and if you've had children at home, that's full on. So do you need to be more creative? Do you need to withdraw from social media? Do you need to change other aspects of your life to generate more rest, as it were? So
I think journaling's a really nice way of doing that as well, just letting the pen flow, and your mind then just creates what you need. Because sometimes if you sit and try and think about things, those thoughts don't always come. But if you're writing, you can do, and sometimes writing a positive list and a negative list, then burning that negative one, get that out of the way. Just lots of different techniques out there, aren't there?
And, you know, what are your needs, wants and desires? What do I need in my life, or what do you not need? I've written quite a few newsletters in lockdown. I've been doing weekly newsletters since last year, end of last year, because it's really helped me on my discovery journey of I've had just a little bit more time without doing the therapy work to focus on what I need. And mine is to step back and do less.
Yeah.
But bring more. So I was doing a lot of massages every day. Then I'd be teaching classes in the evening, and then I'd be writing reports for women. And I'd be working 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And it was to my detriment, really. And I think although the women got good quality in what I provided, I don't think for me it was healthy. I know it wasn't healthy for me. I've suffered with my health for the last year, mainly in skin flare-ups. So I have been working on that a lot more in this last year. But just looking really at making life a little bit more simple, that since we weren't allowed to do as much, and I think a lot of people were feeling frustrated that we couldn't go anywhere and do anything, is actually find the simplicity more in the little things, and that less is more, and we don't need as much stuff around us. And that, you know, I think people were just doing a lot of online shopping because they felt, oh, I'm not out going to the shop, so I must buy online. And actually, I think we create more stress for ourselves because most things need returning, or things turn up and they're broken, and actually just let it go. So my last newsletter was about how you can generate happiness through minimalism and simplicity, which I've been following this year. And we've been decluttering the house, you know, striving to just get more out of the way, and it feels so much better. It just gives me a mental clearance as well. So, you know, there is so much that we can do. Like when the children go back to school and we've got a little bit more space, you know, it can take a week or two to go through each room and each drawer, but just tackle a little bit every day. Look at what you're holding on to. In my recent newsletter, I also put my newsletters into the blog on my website, so people can always catch up with them. There's a woman that I follow on YouTube that talks about like the 7 or 12 mistakes she made of minimalism, so that you don't make the same mistakes. And it's just really good advice if you don't really know where to start. As she said, that those who are sentimental and want to literally hold on to everything, which my husband's sentimental, but at age 50, that's 50 years of being sentimental and hoarding. So, you know, we're having words about him maybe decluttering a little bit more. But yeah, it's been really cathartic to go through and sort out everything and just clear, and it's raised my energy just for that reason alone. And then just not going out and buying stuff when you go to the supermarket, the little things, and adding things onto your list that I never needed, the impulsive buys, and it's just been really good. Yeah,
That's
so I'd recommend that for your first week without children is just start a little bit of gentle decluttering. It's springtime anyway, isn't it? And buy less, just buy exactly what you need.
I know we've all got so much stuff, too much
Yeah.
stuff. And I've got clothes is my thing, far too many clothes. I need to, they're all getting rid of as many as possible. And and then when you've got kids, obviously the toys and all of their stuff as well. And
Yeah.
you sort of find they tend to only really go for the same sort of things when they're playing until you that box that you haven't actually opened for a few months, and they're like, oh yeah, and then they want to play with it. But I mean, some people do like rotation of toys and just to freshen it up. But yeah, just less is definitely more. And like you say,
it does make a massive difference. And so and then you can address, once you've done that, you can address really how you're feeling in yourself, and is there something that's been niggling for the past year or more that you've really not addressed, such as a leaky pelvic floor, or fatigue, or cravings, or weight, or fitness levels, any of that. And my advice would be that, we've got one body. It works so well for us most of the time. It gives us little whispers now and again if things aren't quite right. And sometimes it just roars, it just says, listen to me. And this is when women can experience massive crashes, horrendous periods, heavy periods. Like I say, I've got a really unforgiving skin problem at probably the last 6 years, worse than the last year since the pandemic. So it's quite relatable. I can understand women who have been experience issues. I can empathize. I've got 3 types of pelvic organ prolapse. I was lucky to be diagnosed with my third just before Christmas by my gynecologist. I used to suffer with worse incontinence than I do now because I work hard to keep my pelvic floor strong. I have diastasis. I had a big diastasis after the birth of my last daughter that I've helped to recover, but I need to keep a check on that as I'm perimenopausal now. I'm 45, so I'm going to be working through in the next 10 years through to my menopause. I need to just keep my core and pelvic floor as my focus, really, because it is everything in women, our pelvis, our uterus, our womb, our tummy. It's our main focus. It's that's the phases that we go through in life, isn't it, as women? The womb is everything. So it's bears us good stuff. It can also bear us bad stuff. So we need to just be checking in, noticing what our body's saying, and then go and seeking the right support. And unfortunately, in lockdown, the GPs have not been, it's not been as easy to get the right kind of consultation. Phone calls and photographs showing different things haven't been as good as it can be. And a lot of women, I think, have put up with more at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women have reflected and realised there is something going on. But even if the GPs are seeing women more, I would say that sometimes the NHS is so limited in time and resources that what I've found is that when I've seen private practitioners, I've got more from it. So invest in your health is what I would say, because it's worth it. It's worth it to go down that route of seeing someone to support your body in whatever life phase you're in.
Definitely, because if you haven't got your health, you can't do anything. You can't do anything else. So,
no, that's right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Like I say, I've been through Nina's classes and I still take part when I can, and just fabulous support. So for any women out there who are looking for that extra help, that extra virtual hug, reach out and contact Nina. I'll put the links in wherever this is posted. We'll be on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So come and check us out. Nina is from the Suffolk Women's Wellness Centre and I'm from the Healthy Vibe Trove. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Catherine.